Jonathan, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast. What is it that we're going to do today?
All right, let's hook up our Goontacts to our API and get some data going.
That's right. Yeah. So in the past, we went through and we created a mess of a validation page. I mean, we put so much code into it. And it was a good learning curve because there was so much work in there. And then you think about, like, do we really want to do this for every page? That's a lot of code. So we learned that you would abstract that into a library. And instead of creating our own library, we use an existing library that's very popular in the industry for React development. And the name is called Formig. And we saw how it went from a bunch of garbled code to like something that was like neat, And I think we could probably clean up some of that validation by putting in some aesthetics, maybe some red boxes as something's missed on a field or whatever the case is. But for the most part, I think we can live with that, and we'll come back and clean that up later. But I do want to move forward. The one thing that we need to do now is whatever data is being entered into that form, we need to save it. Mm-hmm. And the way to save it is to send it over to an API that eventually would insert all that data into the database. So we're going to be traversing a lot of places. We're going to go from React code to C# code, into some data access code, and eventually we're going to end up in a stored procedure where we're going to have to save all this data. And it has to be an all or nothing. We can't have a name without a number or an email. It's like all three of them. We have three tables that we have to insert into. So it has to be an all or nothing transaction. So let's see that happen.
All right. Let me share my screen.
Oops. And cool. So let's also fire up Visual Studio and let's launch the application.
All right.
Let's go ahead and open up the developer tools. And let's go into the contact edit, into the edit screen itself. Is it create to? Yeah, let's go ahead and fill in some information, and then let's and go ahead and press submit. All right, let's go ahead and expand the contact info. All right. So we need to create an object in C# that matches this structure here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. You go ahead and leave. You can leave this screen up. Let's go back to Visual Studio. And go ahead and stop it. And let's see what we got. We can go ahead and collapse client app. And let's go into models. Cool. So let's create a model in here. So let's create a new class. Add new class. Yeah. And let's call this contact add request. Excellent. And this is going to be just a property, just like the way that we have. If you look at your contact item, you see how we just have properties in there. We're just saying, hey, this is just a collection of data. We're going to hold an ID, a name, an email, and a phone number, right? With contact add request, we need to create the same exact thing, but it needs to match the model that we have in the browser. So we're going to be toggling between this and the browser so that we can see. If you go ahead and bring up your browser. Oh, did you close your browser? Oh, yeah, leave the browser. Oh, wait a second. It actually closes it. Okay. Okay. So open up your development tools.
Oops.
Okay, so here's what I would recommend. I would recommend taking a screenshot of the results there. You can use a snippet. Yep. Cancel, and then you're going to have to do the browser. Bring up the browser.
Right here.
All right, cool. So let's go back to Visual Studio, and we're gonna have to toggle between here, your image, and Visual Studio so that we can come up with the names. Okay, so let's go back and look at the image for a second. So we're gonna need a property for email, email label, first name, ID, last name, phone, and phone label. But you see how they're lowercase? All of our properties are going to be uppercase, and so we'll start with an ID. So go ahead and go to C# and then type in prop for prop. Go ahead and start a new line. It's all lowercase prop. And then tab. And this is going to be the type for this one is going to be an integer. So you go and tab again and then put in ID. And it's always going to be uppercase I, lowercase d, press enter. And then press enter again. And we'll do it all over again for the next one. So what's first name, right? At this time, first name is going to be a string. So go ahead and type in first name and then tab again. And then replace the int with string. And it's lowercase. Yeah. And then press enter. And then enter again. And so you need to, for the rest of them, yeah, they're all going to be strings. Yeah, everything else should be a string. So you should be good. All right. So then at this point, we have the object that's going to be receiving the object from JavaScript. All right. So let's go into controllers and contact controller and do a control MO. So we can collapse all our methods here. And let's give ourselves a little bit of real estate. You can go ahead and yeah, we don't need that much space on that, right? Okay, perfect. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create, just like you have on line 17, we're going to need another method. So you can go and put it at the end of line 17 and press enter a couple of times. And we're going to do, again, a public iAction result. And we'll call this save contact info. and go ahead and do an open close parenthesis. Inside those parentheses, you're going to do an open close square bracket. And inside the square bracket, you're going to say from body, one word. There you go. And then outside the square brackets, you're going to say contact add request. So that's going to be the type. And then go ahead and give me a space. And you can just put it REQ for short for request. Perfect. And then outside of the parenthesis, go ahead and do your open close curly braces, and we'll start with the body. We need to add one more line of code, and it needs to go above line 30. So if you just go ahead and give me another right there. You're going to put in some square brackets. And this is going to be a post. HTTP post. There you go. And do we need to do anything else to this? I don't think we need to. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So we need to go back to the contact add request just for a moment. ASP.NET Web API has a way of doing some validation for us because we can't trust the browser. They can easily disable JavaScript, and they can go and access the API directly, and they can go and post information. And if they don't post the required fields, then we're going to get into trouble. Mm-hmm. So we also need to add validation to this particular object. So let's go ahead on top. We'll go ahead and leave the ID. We won't make it required, but what we will do is we will make the first name required. So if you just give me a blank line between ID and first name, one more blank line, and then put some square brackets on there. And we want to go ahead and type in required with uppercase R. Yeah, go ahead and type it in correctly, and then we'll bring in a namespace. So let's go ahead and do a control period. And yep, that first using statement is the one that we want. Excellent. So we need that required for last name, for email label, for phone, and for phone label. So we're going to want to add a tag to each one of our properties. We're going to put that decorative attribute on each one.
Just right above it?
Right above each one, yeah. Excellent. And let's go ahead and put an empty space in between each property and the required. So this is called data annotations, and there's a whole library of annotations that we can use. There was another validation that we're using, right? We're using a maximum length and a minimum length. Mm-hmm. So after required, go ahead and press enter. Outside the bracket, yeah, and press enter. And let's do another square bracket. And in here, we want to say min length. Yep, that's it. Open parenthesis. And we want to go ahead and put 2. And then comma. And you see how there's an error message? You're going to type in error message equals. Yep. And then inside of double quotes, let's double quotes. Yeah. Let's put a message in there that says minimum length is 2 characters. If we have a minimum length, Jonathan, we also have an opposite, max length. And I think our max length is 25. Cool. So we'll need to do that for last name as well. For email, I think we just, for email. So here's a nice thing about this is that we can just do the square brackets and just type in email. Go ahead and install that annotation extension, the latest. Yep.
Okay.
That'll validate our email. And then we also need minimum for the email label. And then also for the phone label. And I think the length, the min length on the phone is it 10?
10, yeah.
Cool. So let's go ahead and save this. And let's go back to our controller, to our contact controller. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and receive whatever's in there, and we'll send it right back. So let's just say response or return, and just put in REQ. We're going to send that request right back and then finish that off with the semicolon. So we're going to send this right back. We're not going to do anything. All we want to do is just test this. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. And do you have Postman installed?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's fire up Postman. And in here, let's go ahead and put contact instead of birthday. Let's put contact. Instead of a get, it'll be a post. And then go to the body. And in the body, oh, well, you need to put raw. Go ahead and select raw. And then on the dropdown where it says text, select JSON. And in here, we need to create a JSON object that looks just like that image.
Okay, like this.
Yep, just like that. So you'll start with open, close curly braces, and then you'll have email, email label, all that good stuff. All right, so now that we have our JSON object, we should be able just to send it in. Let's go ahead and send it, see what we get. Do we have that right URL? What is that? The local host, what's the port number on that? If you'll bring up Chrome. Localhost 44325. Okay. 44325. Now press send.
Boom.
Look at this. Look how it gives you all that information.
Wow. Yeah.
And those are the messages that you included in those attributes.
Cool.
So this way, somebody can't just go through our API and force incorrect data. It's like there is some validation there still. So we add validation to the user for the user experience, right? Because we don't want them to go and type all this stuff and it's like, oh, what? I missed that. And like, oh man, what? I missed that. So we give it for the user experience. But if somebody decides to create, like, let's say an iPhone application or an Android application, and they forget to validate something, we also have another layer of defense at the API that will validate the information and prevent the data from making it through to the database.
Cool.
So you can see, and it even comes back as a 400 bad request. Mm-hmm. See? So now let's go ahead and fill in some information. Go ahead and fill in put an invalid email. Just put ABC in there. And then go ahead and put proper label, proper first name, the whole thing. All right, so let's go ahead and send that in there. And we only get one error.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Now let's go ahead and fix the email and take a number away from the phone.
Cool.
And then let's go ahead and add that the number back, and let's only give your first name your initial and not
first name, minimum length.
So it gives you all that, right? So let's go ahead and put John back in there, and let's submit this. Now we get that object right back. We don't get the errors. because that's essentially what we're doing, right? We're just grabbing those errors and sending those back. But instead, now what we're doing is we're grabbing the object that was sent in and we're sending it right back. And you'll notice how it takes it from JSON, turns it into a C# object. And then when we return it, that C# object is returned back as a JSON object. Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and stop Visual Studio from running. And let's go add some more code. So let's expand line 17. What do we have in there that we're using? We have our try catch. So we'll worry about our try catch in a moment. What we want to do is we want to go and post our data. So in our contact repository, so let's go ahead on line, after line 32, give me a new line. And here we're just going to say int and then space ID, lowercase ID equals underscore contact repository dot save contact info. And then open close parenthesis. And then go ahead and send in our EQ. And then finish that off with the semicolon. So where did this method even come from, Jonathan?
This contact repository?
No, the save contact info. It doesn't exist. It says, hey, if you hover over that, it says the iContact repository does not contain a definition for save contact info. There is no accessible extension method, save contact info, accepting the first argument of type iContact repository. That could be found. Are you missing any directive or an assembly reference? So basically, we just pulled this name out of thin air and we're going to tell it to go and create this for us. So go ahead and go into show potential fixes and go ahead and generate that particular method. We've given it a lot of information. We said your return type is going to be an integer because we're waiting for an ID back from that particular method. Mm-hmm. And we're saying go add it to the interface class. In other words, go add it to the contract, right? So go ahead and right click on that. And let's go to definition.
Oops.
That's fine. That we can peek definition. That's cool. So list contact, get contact list is being called on line 21. From line 33, we just told it that we're going to be calling save contact info, and now it created it on that line 9 of that peek. Mm-hmm. Okay. So go ahead and close this iContact repository and then go up to line 21, right click on get contact list and go to implementation. There you go. Now in here, this is where we're taking the interface and we're implementing it in this particular class. In other words, we're taking the contract and we're slapping it onto this class and we're saying, here's how we're going to get this done. But you'll notice that now there's a red squiggly mark on the iContact repository. So let's go look at the show potential fixes. And we want to implement the interface. See how it puts in that method? It puts in the return type, puts in the name, what it is that we're receiving. And now we can do the exact same thing on line 22. We can go and say int ID equals underscore contact data dot save contact info. And then open close parenthesis and send in the request, REQ. Yep, finish that off. And then we can go ahead on line 23, replace that with return ID.
The whole thing?
Yeah, return ID. We're going to go ahead and return the ID of that. Okay. Just like we did previously, where we go and implement these, have Visual Studio create our methods, we're going to do the same thing again. So go ahead and hover over save contact info. Show potential fixes. Yep. And then go up to line 16, right click on get contact list, go to the implementation, and then go and implement the interface. So hover over iContact data. Implement the interface. And then down at the bottom, we're going to see save contact info. Let's go ahead and collapse line 36 so that we can get the other method. So now what we've done is what we're doing in line 15, which is get contact list, we're actually calling the stored procedure to go get data. What we're going to do is we're going to call a stored procedure to send it data so that it can save it into the database. So we're going to need, starting from line 18, we're going to need that using statement. So you can go to start typing on line 48.
Okay.
And the name that we're going to give this stored procedure will be SP underscore save contact info. All right. So now what we're going to do is, instead of saying, hey, go and open and execute a reader, what we need to do is we need to create some parameters. Okay. So we're going to create one funky parameter, and then the rest of them are going to be pretty straightforward. But that first one, can you open up a new instance of Visual Studio, and let's open up significant. And let's go into the data project, significant data, down towards the bottom. Yep. And let's open up, her birthdays, I guess. And let's open up the create. So you remember on line 56, 57, and 58, that's what we're going to need. So yeah, perfect. And then let's go back to significant again. And if you just copy line 59, we're going to have to do this for all the rest of them.
Okay. Oops.
Except that we have first name, we have last name, all those. All right. So we have all that in there. Let's go back and look at our significant method. What do we do after that? After we've added all the parameters?
Open the connection.
Open the connection. So we open the connection on line 62. We execute non-query. And we have a missing variable, a result, huh? Let's go look at where result is located in significant. Where does that come from?
Oh, it's at the top.
Yeah. So we need to go put that at the top of our method too. Top higher.
Oh, more.
One more. Cool. And then let's go look at the end of the significant method and see what we got there. Nope, you went too far.
Oh, this part.
Return result.
Result.
So we're all set to go and send this information. Now we just need a store procedure to receive it.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and copy that SP underscore save contact info, because that's the name that we're going to need. It's on line 51.
Oh, there. Connect.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and expand databases. Goontacts DB tables, or not tables actually. We need to expand programmability, store procedures, and let's give us a little bit more real estate on that left pane. Yeah. So we need to add a new store procedure, right? So new. Let's do it differently. Let's go ahead and, well, you can go ahead and highlight all this and just get rid of everything. We just needed a new window. So Control A and delete. So here we're going to say create or alter. Perfect. And then go ahead and press enter. And then go ahead and type in as, and then begin and end, our skeleton. On line 2, we need to declare our variables. So let's go look at the significant database. And let's go into programmability, store procedures. And let's go look at the create. Or insert, sorry. You can go and right click on it, modify. So you see how on line 9 through 12, we have our ID, our date. We need to do the same thing, but for all the properties that we're sending in.
Okay.
You could copy this if you want.
Just this part, right?
Yep. Yes, that little piece. And paste that in there. And so ID is already established. Now you just got to do first name, last name, email, email label, phone, and phone label.
This is going to be a...
And varchar. And I think, what is the length? Can we look at the table in our Goontacts database? And go ahead and expand tables. And on the person, you can just go and expand person and then expand columns. Oh, these are 50. Okay. So we can go ahead and put in 50 and varchar 50. And that means that we're going to have to change our rule to set up max of 50. And then you're going to want to look at the structure on the email table and see what those columns are. So if you expand email, and let's look at columns. Okay, so those are also 50. And then look at the structure on the phone table to make sure that we have similar.
Whoa.
Yeah, these are a little different, huh? So
One.
we know that the phone we're getting 10 characters, 10 numbers, right? So we're gonna have to do something fancy to be able to grab those individual pieces. And for now, let's just go ahead and receive a phone. And then the phone label happens to be 50. So you can just do a regular and varchar 50 on that one. And I think the reason we're getting all these errors because we're missing a keyword on line 1. It's create or alter proc. Yeah, that should fix it. All right, so now we can go to line 11. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to insert into the person table. So let's go ahead and type in insert into person. And we're going to go ahead and open up parentheses. And then go ahead and press enter in between those two parentheses. Give me a blank line and then tab. And we're going to insert. Let's go ahead and expand person for a moment. Expand the person table. And let's look at the structure on that. So first name, comma, last name.
Okay.
You put those on 2 different lines. And then on the end of line 14, outside the parenthesis, you could put in values. And then same thing, open up parentheses. And then press enter and put it on separate lines. And we're going to put at first name, comma, new line, at last name. Go ahead and indent that too. So this takes care of the person, but we still have email and phone, right? But in order for us to be able to insert into email and to phone, we need the ID from the person. So let's go look at the stored procedure for the insert on significant. I think it's the first tab.
Oh.
You see how we have on line 24, scope identity, set ID, all that. So we're going to need that line. And go ahead and go back to your second tab and just put that in there. So now we have a variable with the ID of the newly inserted person record. So as we do the same thing for email, so now we're going to need to go ahead and do expand email so that we can see the structure on that. So we need to insert the address and the label, and we also need to insert that person ID. And that person ID, we have it on line 18.
Okay.
So let's do the same thing. Let's do an insert into that email, just like we did into person. All right. And we need to do the same thing for phone. So let's go ahead and set up. Go ahead and expand phone so that we can see the structure on that. And that one's going to be a little different. So let's go ahead and insert into phone, person ID, country code, area code, subscriber code, extension, and phone label. Let's go ahead and do that for now. And we know the person ID, right? It's going to be at ID. And then comma. And for now, we're going to be dealing with the US country code only. So you can hard code a 1 in there. You just put a 1, comma. And then the area code. So the area code happens to be the first 3 numbers of the phone number that's coming into the parameter, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a command called substring in SQL. And substring basically is a command that's spelled SUB, sub, and then STR, or substring. There you go. That's the one right there. And then open parentheses, open close parentheses. And the first, it's all one line. The first parameter that we're going to send into the substring is, where do we want to start? We want to start at the very first character. So we put in a 1 and then comma. And how many characters from that 1, how many do we want to grab? We want to grab 3.
Okay, 3.
So, but the thing is that we also have to tell it where to grab it from. So before the 1, go ahead and put in at phone, comma. All right. And then so put a comma at the end of that line. And what do we need to grab next? We need to grab the subscriber code, right? Mm-hmm. The subscriber code happens to be the rest of the numbers, which are the next 7. So substring again. And then we're going to grab it from at phone. So if we grab the first 3, what do we need to grab now?
4 through 10.
4 through 10. Oh, no, we actually just need to grab the next 7.
Okay.
So it's not the positions, is you start at 4.
Oh, 4.
And then how many do you want to grab?
7.
And I think we can go ahead and leave the extension by itself. We don't even need to insert it. It's just going to give us a null, but we do need to insert the phone label. Let's go ahead and save this. Go ahead and create a folder in here.
Okay.
And call it SQL Server Database. All right, and give that SQL query one a name. We'll call it, what is it? Update, save, contact info. Cool. And we need to execute this in order to put it into the store procedure. So go ahead and Control E to execute it.
Yeah.
And let's go do a test. So grab all your variables. Or better yet, we can simply do this. After line 9, give me a new line. And there's a way to do comments on multiple lines. And the way you do it is you do /**/ and everything in between those two, the two asterisks is going to be a comment. So go ahead and give me some empty lines. Give me one empty line. All right, so line 11, go ahead and tab so that we can do indent it. And we're going to say exec space SP_save contact info. So we're going to call that store procedure.
Sorry, what was it?
SP, the name of your store procedure online. And we do need one parameter. So let's create a new empty line right above it. And let's do declare @_ID. And then int. And so what you want to do is go ahead and on line 12, give me a space there. Go ahead and put @_ID. And you're going to put out. And then comma. And now you can just go ahead and put in the first name, comma, the last name, comma, the email, and make sure that they're, by this point, we need valid results, right? You're going to have to put all that stuff surrounded with single quotes.
That's it, right?
And then another line. And let's do select star from person. All right, let's go ahead and highlight this whole thing and run it. Control E. Oh, okay, what happened here? Let's give us a little bit more real estate at the bottom message. And it said the save contact info line 28 string binary will be truncated in the phone column extension. Truncated value. Can you scroll over to the left a little bit?
Oh, that's
interesting. Extension. Can we go look at line 28? So I'm thinking line 28, we have an extra 5, so it ends up being line 34. Or maybe 35. So, extension. Got it. Okay. Subscriber. So we're not including an extension. We can get rid of that. So we're only including the, we're also missing the person ID. So person ID goes before country code. Okay, comma.
comma.
Okay, so we have, let's look at the insert phone. Let's go look at that whole query. Make sure we got everything correct. Let's scroll down to the phone. So we have person ID on line 42, country code 37, matching 43, area code on 38, matches 44, subscriber code, which is 39, matches 45, and then phone label matches 46. Okay, let's try that again. Let's go ahead and Control E this whole thing. We also want to do a Control S to save it to the file system. And then highlight it and Control E. Oh, look at that.
Cool.
That is kind of cool, huh? But there's a problem. Let's go and do a select star from person. Just highlight select star from person without the where. And go ahead and Control E. You'll notice that there's two Jonathan Campos.
Uh-oh.
Let's do a select star from email. And let's see if there's a record ID for person ID number 4.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there is. But what about on the phone? Let's go look at phone. See if there's a person ID 4. See how person ID 4 failed?
Yeah.
Phone. This is the problem, is that we're doing partial inserts. We're not inserting all or nothing. So what we have to do is we have to insert everything, or we have to roll back everything. You know, it's like we can't just insert into some tables and not others if something fails. It has to insert all together. So go ahead and open up Chrome and let's look at some code. And let's do a search for Sql Server Transaction. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at that first one. Go ahead and open up that first one in a new tab. And let's expand your window here so that we can. So go ahead and scroll down to their example. So essentially what they're saying is we want to begin a transaction. And we can give it a name if we want. Is there an example? If we go further down, go ahead and let's look for their SQL example. Here we go. So begin transaction 1, update table 1, begin trans M2 with mark, update table 2, select star from table 1, commit transaction M2. So they're committing 2, and then they're going to update 3, and then they commit transaction 1. So, okay. But along with, can we scroll down a little bit? Begin transaction, delete, commit, and then scroll down more. So here we have begin, insert, and then roll back, and then go ahead and continue to roll back. There should be an example where they're using a try catch. Go ahead and no. Oh, maybe they don't have it. Okay. So let's keep this window open, and we need to do a new search, and we need to look for SQL Server try catch. And let's go ahead and look at that first example. And let's scroll down. So here we go. Begin try, end try, begin catch, end catch. All right. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to wrap all of our code in a begin try. So let's go do that first. You can close that bottom window by doing a Control R. Collapse 18. Collapse 26. Yeah. Okay. Give me a new line after 17. And indent this line. And then say begin try. And then after line 36, give me a new line. And end try. And then let's highlight 19 through 36. And let's indent that. Excellent. All right. So we're going to do a begin try and an end try. Now, go ahead and give me a new line after 18. And go ahead and indent this. And we're going to say begin transaction. And then after line 37, go ahead and give me a new line after line 37. And then in here, you're going to say commit. Okay, so line 19 says, go ahead and start a transaction. And if everything goes well, we go down a happy path. We go ahead and commit all our changes.
Mhm.
After line 51, we're going to do begin. What is that?
And try.
Begin catch and catch.
After.
After line 51, yeah. Begin catch. And then new line is end catch. And in between there, go ahead and give me a blank line in between the begin and the end. And then indent, and then go ahead and say rollback. All one word. Yep. So what this is going to do is it's going to do the begin try, which is happy path. If anything fails in there, it's going to call the rollback. All right. So let's do something. Let's go ahead and expand line 37. And let's go ahead and put the extension. Where did we put the extension before? Was it after or before the area code? Do you remember? I think it was.
No, it was after the subscriber code. No?
Okay, go ahead and put the extension back in there. The extension. And let's go ahead and do a control E on this whole thing. We need one more value, huh? Oh, let's go ahead and look at your code again. And let's get rid of, let's see, what can we get rid of? Let's get rid of 45 for a moment. Oh, wait. No, leave that in there. Let's get rid of 38 for a moment. Go ahead and do a control E. All right. And let's go ahead and highlight your test code and execute this. You'll notice that nothing came up this time.
Mm-hmm.
So because it failed, it's not going to try to insert anything. It's like, hey, sorry, I couldn't do the whole thing, so I'm going to roll it back. But let's go ahead and do a control Z and put that code back the way it was.
All right.
One more. You got to do one more control Z.
Oh.
Okay, now go ahead and save this, do a control S, and then to a control E again. And then run that test code again. Now it works.
Cool.
So if everything's working right, Jonathan, we should be able to go into Visual Studio Code. Let's go into Visual Studio Code, and on submit, we're going to have to do our Axios call. You remember, what was it in the significant application where we're calling a create? Let's go look at that code, at the Axios code for that. So we're going to need a new, go ahead and right click on Visual Studio Code and open up a new window. And let's go point it over to the significant project. And let's go look at edit birthday.
Edit birth dates.
Is it edit birth dates too? Let's go. Scroll to the bottom to the button.
Right here.
And we have the handle click. So let's go look at that handle click. So if you highlight it, right click and go to definition.
Whoops.
That's right. That's good. Okay. So in here. Yeah. Okay, nice. We just need yeah, we just need line 38 through 42. And that's essentially what we're going to do in our, so go to the other Visual Studio. Yeah, that one. And on submit. In here, you can go ahead and add it after line 11. We'll still console out our values. And we need to, have we added Axios to this? Yeah, we have, huh? We just need to import Axios at the top.
And this needs to change too, right?
To contact, yeah. Contact. And then we also need to change that port from 52 to 25. And then we need to change person into, what is it? Contact info. What's our data? Contact info. Oh no, it's values. Just type in values. Lowercase v. Yep, that's it right there. And otherwise it goes and does that. I think this might work. And import Axios, yeah. I'm nervous. See if it works.
Right.
Let's give that a shot. Imagine having 15 projects. It's what my life is sometimes. Hey now. Unexpected. Edit contact to use of history.
Oh.
1611. Let's go look at 1611. Oh, yeah, get rid of history push. All right, save it and then go back to the browser.
There we go. Whoops, refreshed it.
All right. What is it? Create or create to? Which one are we using?
Create to.
All right, let's put in Donald Duck or something.
Goofy.
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 The dog.
The dog.
213-555-1212. And then that would be work. Work. And then his email is goofy@disney.com. And that would be his work as well. And then let's open up the debugging tools. And open up the console. Yeah. Let's submit it, see what happens. What?
Uh-oh.
We got a 200. Look at that. We got the 200.
Huh.
Let's go back to the list and let's see if Goofy's there. Hey, let's call it a day, man. We're winning. It's working out pretty well.
Cool.
We are way ahead. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah. We did it.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into development, isn't there? There's just so much. I mean, you got all this technology. You have to make it look nice. You got to make it user friendly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
A lot that can go wrong too.
A lot that can go wrong. Exactly. But you can see where we've set up the user interface, right? So that it's user friendly. It gives them instant feedback because we're a country of a bunch of gluttons. You know, we want to know if things are working absolutely correct immediately. Don't make me wait, you know. And then on the API itself, we also put in another layer of defense to make sure that all our data is being validated in case they don't use this UI. And then finally, once it's validated twice, then it finally makes it into the database and we get to come back to the list here and boom, it shows up, you know. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think, I think we should definitely call it quits while we're ahead. In our next episode, we will add the edit and the delete on this contacts. And then following episode, we'll add paging. So we're going to be adding more than, a few dozen records on here. And then we're going to need paging so that we go back and forth. And that's going to bring up some fancy queries as well. I mean, we just saw basic CRUD to multiple tables, you just can't go and insert willy-nilly. You actually have to go and begin transactions and make sure that it's an all or nothing type of entry, so that we have some data integrity in there. But yeah, we'll add some paging on the following episode once from the next one. And then finally, I think we need to go back and clean up that create to contact list, or that edit, and make our errors a little bit prettier, just a little bit, not too much. We don't want to give away too much, because we have more exciting applications that we want to create. But I think, I think this is a good place to stop. What do you think?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, until next. Oh, let's push the code up. Push the code. Let's make sure that we go to Visual Studio and push everything. What do we got? Working save contact info. If no, let's commit and push. And let's make sure that it's up there. Yep, no, we're good. Go ahead and go to GitHub and see if it's there. Cool.
It is.
And then we have one store procedure in there. I think also we need to put it the other scripts. We'll do that next time. So there's the code working as expected. Until next time.
Peace out.
Peace.